Hi, and welcome to Female Founders. I'm Rachel McCord. On today's show, we have Jade Friedensohn, co-founder and CEO of DealCatalyst. We also have Laura Casselman, co-founder and director of Vidastreet. We are here with Jade Friedensohn, co-founder and CEO of DealCatalyst. Hi, Jade.
Hello, it's so nice to be here.
Welcome. Welcome to Times Square. Yeah. Welcome to NASDAQ. It's such an honor to have you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
You have done so many incredible things with the business, fostering relationships and communities and helping entrepreneurs get connected the way they need to. Can you talk more about DealCatalyst and what you do with your firm?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to, and thanks for asking. So, it's all about, you mentioned it, connections. And what we do specifically is host conferences, and that sounds really simple on the surface, but it's about getting the right people at the right time under one roof. Right? And the name Catalyst kind of suggests that. You're putting the right ingredients in and hoping that a chemical reaction occurs. And so, oftentimes it's all about just that one person you meet who ends up launching your business or being that next step in your journey. So yes, we do organize conferences, but I also like to think we help to create a little bit of magic.
Absolutely. It's a lot of magic. It's a lot of matchmaking and making sure that you are connecting the right people at the right time. A lot of our female founders attend events, trade shows. They're hoping for that moment to land that big client. So what kind of advice do you have for people attending events to prepare and be sure that they're ready?
Yeah, so there's that saying, an ounce of prevention. It doesn't only keep away illness, but I think it can also, foster amazing things to happen. You can really make alchemy just with an ounce of preparation. And so going into an event, let's say you're going to see 1,000 people. Out of that 1,000 people, it's likely only that 1% are people that can either help you or you may transact with. So if you can, before going into any large event, I'd say ask to see who's attending, try to do your research. If someone piques your interest, look into it a little bit more, study their background, and reach out and say, hey, I see you're going to be there, in Fort Lauderdale next month. Let's grab a coffee, tea, lunch. You'd be surprised out of all of our participants how few people do that ounce of prevention to avoid feeling awkward or lost, and proactive nature. Just seeing out of this group of people, who can I really who might be able to launch my business or my career into the next level. So yeah, I just say preparation and do your research.
That's incredible. And I think it's also very important to know how to assert yourself and know how to speak up when you're ready for it. I know for some of my female founders, we struggle a little bit with those moments, right? We've done our research, we've done the hard work, we've gotten to the event, we have that moment. What kind of advice would you say to someone who is in that moment and she really wants to go for it, but maybe she's a little pulled back, a little reserved? What are some of the tips that you have to help them make that magic, as you say?
Well, I would say just imagine, shoe on the other foot. And that person is probably just as intimidated as you are. So, it's just another human. Before we came onto this conversation, you said, guess what? We're just going to have a chat. I'm a human. So that's such a great attitude. If you go into it and that this person probably has the same insecurities, fears, worries, and how wonderful is it that someone can come and approach them and be, the opener of the conversation. Don't underestimate how hard it is for other people too. So just know it's just another person, no harm, no foul, and have that confidence that you're probably going to be received really well. In fact, they'll probably really appreciate that you took that opportunity to break the ice. They're probably just as intimidated.
I love that. And I think that journey as an entrepreneur can be quite intimidating at times. I want to talk a little bit about that journey for you with founding DealCatalyst. What was that like? What inspired you to create this firm?
Yeah, I think it's the same inspiration that causes people to run the New York City Marathon. Why would you put your body through that pain? It's bad for your knees, bad for your joints. You just want to know if you can do it. You just want to know. And so for me, it was just sort of, yeah, that's really hard. A lot of people probably think I'm going to fail. I think I'm going to fail. So it was proving myself wrong more than others.
And how did you do that? What did you do to counteract those feelings? Because that self-doubt is real.
Yes.
And for many entrepreneurs, it can be crippling. It can stop us. So what do you do? Like, how do you push through?
I think it's important to be self-reflective and understand your limits. It's more, people think, oh, it's so important what I know. It's so much more important what you don't know. So as soon as you strike out on your own, ask for help. I do not know how to do this. Do you know anyone that does? Can you recommend? And it is just like you'd be surprised how people appreciate when you approach them because they're just as shy. When you act from a place of humility and you want help, you'd be so surprised how people just come in and say, I know somebody for that. And they get a thrill out of helping you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do everything alone. You don't have to know everything. And if you think you do, then you're never going to take the first step. You're not going to know most of it. Have faith that you'll either figure it out on the fly, or you'll find the people who will fill in the gaps.
Wow, Jade, that's incredible wisdom. And honestly, I feel like it's the freedom that so many of us need to go for it. So for your business, being in finance, who are your people? Like who should someone go to if they're looking to raise capital, they're looking to make the right connections, they want to make sure that they're ready to come to an event? Who should they ask? What research should they do?
I mean, we all have people we kind of admire and look to as mentors. I'd say, start with them. So at DealCatalyst, as I mentioned before, knowing the gaps, what don't you know? So we went out and found some industry veterans and invited them to have a seat on what we call a strategic advisory board. We said to them, what bothers you when you go to an event? What's missing? Conversely, what isn't being covered out there? What trends are you seeing that nobody has captured on? They do it every day. You can't be everywhere at once. So you ask the people who are in specific pockets at certain times, and then you collate a picture together.
Wow.
So find mentors, find industry veterans in our case. And like I said earlier, the funny thing is when you ask for help, people are all the more excited to share their knowledge with you because it fulfills something in them too.
I love your idea on strategic advisory boards because I think that that's a really interesting pivot because a lot of times we feel like we either need to bring on equity partners or do a full formal board, and it's a little scary. Can you talk about how you built that strategic advisory board and what went into it so that people like myself even could do something like that?
Yes, I think you need to first identify the gaps in your knowledge, in your team's knowledge, and then from your circle, your Rolodex, people that you admire that actually they know how to do that particular thing quite well. And when you approach them from a sense of, you're someone I look up to, you're an expert in this, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, everyone loves their ego stroked a little bit. So as an entrepreneur, obviously the worst thing to do is keep giving up equity and equity and equity in your company. But if you're giving people something non-monetary in return, which is the chance to flex their intellectual muscle with you and have a part in the creation of something big, that's oftentimes enough reward for them.
Wow. I love your heart. I love your approach. You have a really beautiful perspective to business. I really feel it when I'm talking to you because I can tell that you've thought about it. It seems almost an intuitive way. You've thought about it from within. How did you come about doing that?
I wanted to give the advice, especially to women who don't know if they can do it. We have something called a gut feeling. We know we shouldn't go in that dark alley. We think that something's a little off, and then we only go wrong when we don't listen to it. It's the same in business. Just relax into it. Listen to your instinct. Listen to your gut. That is actually our competitive advantage and secret weapon in the world of business. And then the harder part is to trust it.
That's true. I could not agree more. I think there have been so many seasons in my life, not just in my career, but personally, where I've been like, I don't know if I have what it takes. And then I tune into that still small voice and I find it. And I really believe and I have faith that beautiful things come from it. And I think that when you come from that perspective, no matter what you ever do, no matter what business you start, whether it succeeds or fails by the world's perspective, you know that you've made a difference. Now, one last question. What would you say to the entrepreneur coming up behind you who wants to learn how to be at the level that you've done, found their company to accomplish so much incredible stuff in so many different sectors of the industry? What would you say to them?
No time like the present. And we always think that oh, we can do it tomorrow, we'll do it next year, it's not a good time. Today's not guaranteed, tomorrow's not promised. And you hear entrepreneurs have to go at it 1, 2, 3 times before they hit on. Don't waste time, and don't assume that you can get to it tomorrow. The lessons of what we just went through with the pandemic, the world changed in 24 hours. So don't wait for the moment, the perfect time. If you're feeling it, if your gut's telling you to go for it, know that the net is there when you jump.
Wow.
That's the faith part.
Yes, thank you, Jade. That's incredible. Go for it. I love that. All right, coming up next, we have Laura Casselman, co-founder and director of Vidastreet. Don't go anywhere. And we're here with Laura Casselman, co-founder and director of Vidastreet. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You have been crushing it. So many businesses probably get so excited with the entrepreneurs when they hear that you're there, because you're all about lead generation, making those small steps, those small increments that make a big difference in business. Can you talk a little bit about Vidastreet and how you founded that company?
Sure. So with Vidastreet, I was with my company JVZoo that I run. I was over in Portugal and I was speaking there, met a guy that was a user of JVZoo, and his name is Simon Harris. He's actually my business partner and co-founder with Vidastreet, because I said, I see what you're doing and I see that you're doing it for other people. How about we work on you doing it for yourself and make yourself a lot of money on a partner? And here we are now, years later, running this extremely successful business where we generate high quality leads through media and advertising.
Wow. Can you tell us more about how you figure out which clients to work with and how clients might come to you and work with you?
Absolutely. And I think it's super important that we're discussing this, because this last year when we were saying, what are we doing in 2023? We really talked about the type of clients we're looking for and when we say no to clients. So for us, we have a lot of people that organically reach out to us because they are studying another company that we are working with, and they're like, how are they doing so well? How are their leads coming in so quickly? How are they crushing this? And it eventually comes back to us. And there are things that we just started saying no to. And you hate to say a minimum amount of money coming in, but it has to be at some point in time, because of the quality of work that we want to put out. We have to say we won't accept anything under this amount, or if you don't have these ducks in a row, these things ready, you're not ready for us yet.
That's incredible. I think a lot of companies are so quick to just take your money and let you do it, but not really provide the solution that you need. And I think that's a crucial piece of sales. It's making sure that you really are the correct match. You don't want to just get connected to something wrong.
Yes.
And you've been helping so many businesses, which inspired you to create your first book. That's so incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Trust
Thank you.
your increments. I love
That's
this.
true.
That's incredible. Can you tell us more about the book?
Sure. The entire book really goes to this subtitle about how small, consistent steps can lead to massive success, because I truly believe when I look at my own resume or someone reads things off, it sounds really awesome, but it didn't feel necessarily like I was doing big things as I was doing them, because I wrote out big goals, yes, like most of us do. We say, this is my life plan, this is what I want to do. But a lot of people say, I wish I would have done that. I decided at a very young age I was never going to look back on my life and say, I wish I would have. So I break things down into small steps. I break my years down into quarters, into weeks, into days, and I work my system. I check off my to-do list every single day, which gives me that dopamine hit to keep going. And I work my small, consistent steps to all my big dreams.
Wow, I love what you said. So you break down your plan by year, and then by quarter, by month, and by day.
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible. And so have you found the momentum that you get from checking off those small wins starts to build?
Absolutely. Like I said, the dopamine hits. We condition our minds when we create a checklist to want to continue doing it. So I make lists out of everything, whether, everyone does a grocery shopping list, but I make lists out of, I need to do this in my personal life and I need to do this in my work life. And I never leave a day without finishing my list, or if I'm waiting on a third party, someone else is holding me up, it gets moved to the next day. I have notebooks galore where I put a tab on a page that says, you're not done with this book yet, you're not done with this page, come back.
I love that. See, I'm a notepad girl as well. And I got the iPad and I have the
Yes.
pen, but there's something about just that pen to paper that makes you feel like
Yes.
you're really in it.
I agree, and I run technology companies. It's what I do, and I'm still a pen to paper girl. to me, it's more of a commitment. It says I'm going to do this, and I'm committing to it, to write it down, to solidify it in my mind that I will do this.
I love that. So speaking of pen to paper, I want to talk more about this book. So you cover a vast range of challenges that anyone would feel, not just a female founder, but when you take it into that context, I feel like it's incredible because there's so many female founders who feel all the ranges of challenges, right? We feel like I'm insecure about this, or maybe we succeed and then we feel more insecure, or you're balancing, when do I say no? How do I know when to say no? Can you speak a little bit about the book and what kind of topics you're covering inside of it?
I love that you asked me that because I have a section called Know Your No. We all know our why, right? We've heard this fabulous thing of knowing our why and defining why we are actually working towards things and what it is we're working towards. But I believe equally so, we need to know our no. What doesn't fit into our plan? What doesn't make us feel good? And what doesn't make our best selves go forward? Because if we don't know that, if we don't know when to say, actually no, unfortunately I can't do that, then we're always working for someone else's dreams and not our own.
Wow, I love that. I think it's so important too to think about every time you say no, every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else.
Yes.
So then when you're saying no, that means you can say yes to something else, which is such a beautiful ability to do and to know that you're in control of that. I also love knowing that you can actually step forward and say that this is who I am and this is what I stand for. So then you can align your focus, narrow your focus and when. I think that that's so important.
You're exactly right. And women in particular have a hard time saying no. When we say no, a lot of times people hear it as a four-letter word, and it's not. And what we have to realize is that when we say no to ourselves, then we are letting everyone around us down. Because when we're not fulfilled, when we're not reaching towards those things that we need in life, we aren't our best versions.
I love that. And I believe that you can be very brave when you're kind. So you can say no with a smile. You can say, I think you're amazing. I interviewed Kathy Ireland once, and she said, just remember, no is a one-word sentence. There's a period at the end. It doesn't, you don't have to explain it. You don't have to feel pressure to explain it. You can just let that be that. What are some other challenges that you feel like women today, female founders, are struggling with most?
Well, I think a lot of times that people want to speak over us. There is systemic sexism in the workplace. A lot of times people say, oh, I think what she's trying to say, but they're interrupting us. We know what we're trying to say. We're educated women. We didn't start these companies and get out here without knowing what we were doing. We don't have success year after year without knowing what we're doing. So a lot of times I think that women need to be able to not only speak up for themselves, but good men in the room need to say, let her finish.
Wow, that's really good. And I feel that pressure when you aren't able to finish. You almost take a breath and you want to say everything so fast instead of knowing that you can slow it down and you can be powerful in your word and have the confidence to say, just one moment, I'm still going.
Agreed, totally. And you can be so polite in doing it, but also just to say, just like we tell our kids, don't interrupt us, we can tell grown men and women, I'm not done yet.
I appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that you covered so many topics that I think challenge women every single day. And not just women, everyone could feel these emotions. So can you talk about some of your favorite chapters that you wrote?
Oh my gosh, so I have so many. Of course, it's my book, but there's one about, knowing what to care about. It's Give an F. And there are great books already out there about giving an F, but I think it's super important that we all hone in on that. We know our no. We say no to things that aren't what we care about, aren't what we're working towards, but also we realize that we're human, but we are fully capable of all of our wildest dreams. We just have to work the plan.
I love that. Now, can you tell us about the process with writing your book? I know there are a lot of people who dream of writing a book, but that's an insane, incredible accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you talk about that process and how you decided this was the moment for you?
Absolutely. So just like I said, everything I do, I plan out, I break it down into steps, and I work the plan. Every day, I wrote in my to-do list what I was going to work on in the book. So I would write one section at a time, one small increment of the book at a time. And I just kept doing it until there was this whole book that we actually needed to edit down because it was way too much.
Well, I love all your lists. I actually founded a company called the McCord List, so you can understand I'm a list girl. I'm all about it. And sometimes even after I've done it, I write it down just to get that moment. So I love that you mentioned that dopamine hit because it does feel really good when you hit that accomplishment.
It does. And it's, I say that we all need to be our own biggest cheerleader, and I truly mean it. When we have small wins of just completing our checklist for the day, we don't need to have everyone else patting us on the back and high-fiving us. But internally, we can totally give ourselves a high five and say, hey, great day today. You have to encourage yourself, and self-encouragement truly is an inside job.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important to take those small steps. It's the slight edge. How can I do a little bit every day? If you just read 10 pages of a book, by the end of the year, think about how many books you've accomplished, how much you've done, versus just saying, that's too big, I don't have time. Well, maybe you have time for one page. What is something you can do today? Just a small increment, small one, little tiny one that can make a big difference in your life. That's incredible. What's one thing you'd like to leave our audience with today? If you could say, take my book and focus in on this. This is the most important thing that changed my life. What would it be?
I think the most important thing is that it is time for equality. The things that I do talk about in the book, the things that women experience in the workplace that we've all become so numb to, it's time to let it go. We need to be focused collectively on solving bigger, more important problems than sexism in the workplace.
How do you think that starts? How do you think we make that big change?
By being aware, no longer being quiet about it, by saying this is unacceptable, knowing our no's, and also little things like not letting a woman being spoken over when she's in a meeting and she's giving a presentation or doing something she's well prepared for and probably more informed than anyone else in the room about.
I know there are a lot of women at home who are like, I just want her in every room with me. I feel like that. I'm like, my next big board meeting, I'm like, please come with me.
I will be there and I will be your biggest cheerleader. Reach out to me. I absolutely will.
Wow, it sounds like this book is a really great way to get your cheerleader, to get to figure out your no and get behind it and make sure that you feel confident speaking up for yourself. Thank you so much, Laura. This was incredible. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Female Founders.